I wound up taking down a comment by Mysticalcity that he put up. They said I was cherry picking. From what? About the Catholic Church. And he said the Orthodox Church does not sit side by side with the Roman Catholics on moral issues such as contraception. That's right. We don't believe every sperm is sacred. With the issue of the Immaculate Conception, let me say Thomas Aquinas argued against the Immaculate Conception. Is he a heretic? Oh, but it was before the dogma was laid down. I get it. He says, well, you talk about icons. What about the Melkites and the Maronites? Those are Eastern people. Yeah, they're in the case of the Maronites, they were always linked to the Catholic Church, but the Melkites went back. They were Greek Orthodox who went back, so they're in practice they're Greek Orthodox. They're almost the Uniates are basically Orthodox, except they have a picture of the Pope on the instead of a picture of the bishop up on the wall of their church. I think they actually put the picture of the Pope on an altar, which we don't do that with our bishops. And it's they're kind of they don't know what they are yet. The Melkites and the Maronites, they follow the Pope, but they're allowed to basically do all these stuff that is in the Latin Rite. Getting on to the act of contraception, starving countries in Africa where you have men and women that are married and they have kids. When they're starving, they're allowed to use contraception. Abortion is not allowed. Once the sperm meets the egg, then that's the act of conception. They're not Orthodox are not anti-life. They're not, but they're not insane about these certain things. When they go to African countries and different places where and these people convert to Orthodoxy and they have multiple wives, they say, well, the first one is the one you can keep relations up with. The rest of them, you still have a duty to them. You're not allowed to divorce them. You're not allowed to take any more, and you basically have to treat all of them equal. And either you have no sexual partners or you have one. It's economia right there. Orthodox usually have the idea, many Orthodox, that prostitution should be legal in America, and that all drugs should be legal in America. I agree. I'm taking a more Christ-like view of it. Just because it's legal doesn't mean we should. We're for it. It's just we believe outlawing it causes so much damage and evil that in a secular society it's actually anti-Christian to ban these things because you give a lot of money and power to gangs. You endanger so many people's lives. It's just sickening. In case of prostitution, well, you can have women out in the streets with diseases and pimps and people getting themselves in dangerous situations, or you can have it legalized and controlled, and the women aren't being beaten and abused by pimps. They're making their own bad decisions, but they're not doing it. They're not endangering anybody. They're not spreading disease. With the issue of drugs, an issue never taught about in the Bible. We only have alcohol, but yet alcohol is legal. It's the same thing: spread a disease, giving gang members, giving the gangs money, basically to terrorize people, terrorize neighborhoods, and people dying, people losing their right to vote, people becoming criminals when it's their own use of a substance, and it's just ridiculous. We're mature enough to admit this, but yet so the moral issues, we find that immoral to impose all these laws when they have nothing to do with Christianity. When has Christianity been about making laws or being in politics? They've not stood side by side on moral issues. You see them as moral, but they're not. I'm trying to think of a better way to explain this, but I mean, it's just, oh, prostitution must be illegal. Where do you get that from? Or all drugs must be banned. Where do you get, again, the war on drugs has failed, and it's failed everybody in America. You criminalize something, and you make people criminals when they're not. Uh, our jails are overflowing. Society's getting worse, and they let up on the drug laws. They see a decrease in violent crimes and disease. I don't know. So what's moral to have a just ridiculous. Anti-Catholic? No, I'm not. Where did I say anything anti-Catholic in that video? I said Rome brought in new teaching, which they clearly did.